Hello, welcome to DIY is my happy place. I'm Amy and today we're doing another true crime DIY. We're going to dive in deep and see what the public records on the Melani Pawlowski evidence shows as far as the alleged attempted murder of her now ex-husband. Remember when he was shot at and he chased down well, let me tell you what we know about it. Okay, I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell. I've been investigating and following along. I posted a video a few days ago and I had over 1,000 comments. I want you all to know that I'm reading your comments. I tried almost all day on Saturday to reply to every single comment, and it seemed like as I would type a reply, 100 more comments would come. So obviously I hit a nerve, and there's just no chance I have time to reply to every single comment and still produce another video. So this is what I want to do. I want to talk to you about the things that a lot of questions. There were a lot of you that asked questions that brought up some interesting thoughts and pieces that really gave me some thought-provoking questions that made me want to dive deeper into this whole attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux. And so I went diving. Let me just say, so the biggest question that I found, comments and speculation that the majority of you had was, do you think that Melani might have been the getaway driver when Brandon was shot at? Now, before I comment about that and I show you what I've drummed up, I want to just put one little piece in here, and that is I had mentioned before how I just feel like it's a great way that we have the entire web to be able to help dive deep and to be thinking. All of the great minds out there can come together and think about one particular subject or one particular case and be able to come up with some ideas. And I thought it was really interesting because Kay and Larry, after the verdict of Lorivallow, they specifically said thank you to, of course, the prosecutors, the investigators, the police, all of those people. Of course, they are so thankful for them. But they also thanked everybody else who has given them so much love, support, and ideas on what happened. So I really think that we're onto something here. I think that we can do some good in trials if we just bring all of our thoughts and minds together and see what we can find out. So what I'm going to do some videos and I'll show you what I found out, and then I would love to hear your opinions. Give them to me, tell me what you think, and maybe we can dissect this a little bit more and find out the answer. So the number one thing that I was seeing over and over again was a lot of you are suspicious that perhaps Melani Pawlowski could have been the getaway driver. And I initially thought, no, I don't think so. I think it was probably Alex, and he jumped in the driver's seat and drove away. And it's been a couple of years since I even saw or really investigated that. And so I couldn't remember all the details of it. Well, now I have done a lot of research. I've been combing every kind of document that I can find. And I have to say, I think you're all onto something. I agree. You've changed my mind. And I think it's an interesting concept, and here's why. Right off the bat, when Brandon first called 911 and the police were there with body cams, and I watched all those videos, hours of different angles and different whatever, I watched it all, but he immediately said, they shot at me. He said, there's something to the effect, there's no way that one person could have done it and driven away so fast. There had to have been two people, because he saw the muzzle of the gun shoot, his window shatters, and then he keeps on driving and starts following them. And he followed him for a little while until he realized this is dangerous. and he stopped following him. But obviously, the person was laying in the back, and we know that there's so much evidence. For instance, the Lori and Chad are seen on video surveillance going into their storage unit because they took that tire off the back of Tylee's Jeep Wrangler, so that if the tire's on the back, the window cannot lift up. And in order to make this happen, they needed that window to be up. So they put the tire in the storage shed, and they also needed to take out one of the car seats, like the great big seats, in order for Alex to be able to lay down back there in his black whatever with his muzzle, like lifting up the window, bring his muzzle out, shoot at Brandon. And then as soon as the glass shatters, Brandon keeps driving towards them, and the car drives away. So here's my question. There's really a lot of evidence. There's a lot that suggests that it was Alex. And so Alex was the shooter, right? Who was the getaway driver? That's the question of the hour. Who was the getaway driver? And here's what we know. Brandon just rented a new place a few days before this happened. And the police asked, who knew where you lived? Well, there were only a handful of people that knew. He said his soon-to-be ex-wife, Melani, and then some other people in the neighborhood, because when he was moving in his things all by himself, and some neighbors came by and said, oh, let us help. So the neighbors who helped him move in his subdivision knew who he was and where he lived. And other than that, there's only one other person that had that address, and that is Melani Pawlowski, however you want to say it. She's the one that knew. And she had motive. She has so many motives because, of course, she's buying into this whole thing that she claims is not a cult, right? So that's a little bit interesting right there. So this is what Brandon says. That morning, he had the kids at his place. He court-ordered had to give Melani the address of where he was with the kids. That morning, he had the kids with him. So in the morning, he woke up, got the kids all ready, and there's 4 of them. He drives 2 of them to school, drops them off. The 3rd child he takes to a daycare, drops off. And then the 4th child, the young little toddler, he takes to Melani, drops off the child. Then he goes to the gym, and he's at the gym for a couple hours. In the meantime, that gives plenty of time for Uncle Alex to come over and pick up Melani with the baby. This is another thing that's just like blows my mind. So did she get a babysitter that day for the little baby that was with her? Well, there's no sign that she did. No one has come forward, and this is all over the internet. As we know, no one has come forward to say that they babysat that baby that morning. So my guess is she put the baby in the back of the Wrangler Jeep and buckled him in. She drove. The whole thing is mind-boggling. And she had plenty of time to then go back home. Alex drives. He literally drove all the way out and all the way back. They have all this within 24 hours. And then Lori is Google searching to see if someone was killed. I think they didn't know for sure if he got shot and if he was wounded, if he was injured, or if he died. They know that he came after them for a little while, but they don't know until later. But I don't think it's looking good for her. So what I'm going to do today is I want to show you a few more clips. I did a video Saturday, and I have to say, when the verdict was read on Friday, I was so happy at the verdict. And in fact, I even think I said in my video, this is so fun. And I'll tell you, it sounds crazy. Like, this is a murder trial. How can you say it's fun? And here's how. I was thinking of back in the 80s, there was a movie called Still Magnolias. I don't know if any of you have seen this. I'm going to call it the Still Magnolias effect. So basically, this movie was a very traumatic movie. Had your emotions on your sleeve. There's this beautiful mother. I don't want to give it away. Well, in order to understand the Still Magnolias effect, I'm going to have to give some of it away. A mother of a beautiful young child dies, and then her mom is so distressed and sad. And so there's this video clip, maybe I'll show it, of her just heart-wrenching, so sad. Why did she have to die? Why did she have to die? Well, in the video, they then have this really funny little thing that happens after that, and it's called slap-weeza. Okay, so maybe some of you have heard of this before, but I call it the slap-weeza effect, and that is sometimes things can be so traumatic and so hard, like just watching this movie. It's a movie, but it was still tears, trauma, heartache, lump in your throat, all that stuff, which is the way I felt about this trial. And then if there's any little slight thing that will give you a reason to laugh or to be happy, you just long for it. You want it because it takes the edge off that stress. And I have to say, based on the verdict, I was so happy because I was afraid that maybe there would be some hiccup and Lori would get away with what all transpired. So I'm not the only one that feels this way. Let me show you. After the Lorivallow verdict came in, the reactions were celebratory. And I feel like it was across the world. All of us who have followed this case just had this sense of happiness to finally see maybe a little bit of justice.
We are elated with this. There was some doubt we would get all of them, all guilties, but we did it.
Okay, now that we've talked about the Still Magnolias effect, I want to say that I think it's kind of that Still Magnolias effect of why I like to help try to solve crimes. And I'm not saying I'm solving the crime, but I'm saying why it's so intriguing to me and why I find joy in the capture. I find joy in the bad guy getting their just rewards, so to speak. So there you go. Now I want to show another little piece of some of the things that Melani has said in the past before all of this came to light, so that we know, we can look at what she's saying, and now we have all this court documentation, so we know exactly where she's lying. And it's almost like if her lips are moving, she's a lying, according to what we can find from the court documents. So let me show you a little commentary of that, and I will just say this. That is, with all those motives, all those reasons, she may have been the getaway driver. So let's watch the clip and then we'll talk about it at the end.
Lori's my aunt, and I've been close with her ever since I was little. She's somebody I look up to and admire, and she's drama-free and fun, outgoing, very generous, just a light to be around. She attracts others just with her ability to just make light of heavy situations and just be fun and unconditional love.
Okay, that statement alone, unconditional love, sounds pretty biting to me, because you think about it, that's not what we see. I find it interesting that Melani finds it a good attribute that Lori makes light of heavy situations. I don't see it that way.
I think the people speaking most right now and the loudest in the media are the ones that have the most to hide. Tylee and JJ adore their mother. Lori's done everything she can to protect them and to just give them everything that they need. They're really, really close with their mom. They trust her, and they know that she would do anything to protect them and love them. We're not asking the right questions. We keep asking, where are the children? And I know Lori hasn't come forth and said really much of anything, but I'm not asking the right questions on why does she feel the need to protect her kids, and from who and from what. I've never seen any real evidence that proves that Alex Cox shot at Brandon Boudreaux. He was so sure about it, and it confused me because at this point Alex had passed away, and I still don't have those questions.
In this part of the interview, when Melani is trying to act like she has no idea who shot at her ex-husband Brandon, and she has no questions for Alex about that, she kind of has a slip of the tongue. She specifically says, I have no questions, instead of saying, I didn't know the answer to those questions. Let's listen to it again.
Alex had passed away, and I still don't have those questions.
Alex has passed away and she still doesn't have those questions? Why not? She knows Alex shot Charles. She knows Brandon was on the dark side. She knows all these things, even though she's pretending as if she doesn't. I think it's interesting when she justifies her relationship with Uncle Alex, when she's asked, how close were you with Uncle Alex?
In my marriage with Brandon, when things started to come to light, and it began to be hard, I started to call my Uncle Alex for just to talk to somebody and kind of vent and say, hey, what do you make of this? He drove trucks for a living, and he would just always answer and just listen, no judgment or drama. He just would listen and give sound advice. When I moved up to Rexburg the first week in November, he was there and helping me every day when I was missing my kids and trying everything I could to have them be returned to me. He would lift me up every day and say, hey, it's okay, and he was my closest friend at that point.
Melani knew that Uncle Alex was accused of targeting and trying to shoot Tammydaybell at this point. Let's hear how she justifies that and, of course, Charles' shooting.
A lot of the documents and things that are coming forward and questions are stemming initially from the divorce the divorce process Charles began with Lori. A lot of these documents and things that he provided initially that are now being leaked, and it's kind of old news. The allegations and everything made against Alex and Lori, like we've never heard what Chad and Lori do believe.
It's interesting to me that she just completely dodges the question. She will not even try to answer why Alex would shoot and kill Charles, other than to say documentation from the divorce, blah, 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 and doesn't even address the Tammy issue. Instead, she just changes the subject and talks about how people just don't understand because they don't know what Lori and Chad believe. I think it was her inadvertent way of trying to, in her mind, she's still justifying it because she believed the same things they believed. It's all justified.
We just want to keep putting truth out there, hope that people can be open-minded and realize that, things in the media might not have been portrayed correctly, or there might be pieces missing, and people, might be hiding certain things, and we don't have answers to where the kids are and why these things are going on because we're not getting the full extent of truth.
Well, that's an understatement of the year. Wait until we end up seeing the flyover when they find the bodies of those young children. It's absolutely devastating. And remember, Melani put that post out on Facebook right after the bodies were found to say, oh, Tylee would be having a huge eye roll at all the drama the media is saying about this. Yeah, see my previous video if you want to learn more about that one. Let's hear Melani's thoughts about when Alex died.
It was absolutely devastating to hear that Alex had passed. It was sudden and unexpected, and I had no reason to believe it was anything strange or other than natural causes.
Again, that's just so hard to believe, because if that's true, then why wasn't the family notified that Alex had died? We know his own parents and siblings were not notified. This was just the in-cult circle that knew when he died. And how do we know that? Because of Summer Shiplett's phone call to Lori, who was in jail. Listen to this.
What? You didn't call me when Alex died, which now I'm glad he's gone, if he was a part of this, but you didn't call to tell me Alex died or that your kids are gone? Nothing? You don't think that's going to cause pain throughout our entire family? That's never my intent. Well, you don't think I'm in pain? No, I don't. I think you were dancing on the beach having a great time.
I just really feel for that poor family. But then Melani immediately starts talking about poor Zulema, who was Alex's wife of 2 weeks. She could care less about the rest of the family. They're not in their inner circle. Listen to this little gem.
His wife, Zulema, not being able to mourn and grieve over this loss because everything has turned into a whole investigation. she hasn't had that time to be able to heal, and our family hasn't been able to heal and move on.
You're talking about your family healing when they don't even know their son and brother died. He was immediately cremated, and there was no services because they didn't even know until the media started to bring it out. So what do you think? Do you think it's possible that Melani was the getaway driver? And secondly, if she was the getaway driver, did she bring her child along with her during the attempted murder? That is so horrible to think about. Horrible. All of it is absolutely horrible to think about. I would love to hear what you think. Now that you've seen everything that I posted today, and based on lots of very smart people out there in the comments saying they think she could have possibly been the getaway driver, give me a yes or a no. Yes, I think she was a getaway driver, or no, there's no chance she was. And please keep your thoughts and comments coming. We web sleuths need to unite. That's what I say. And you don't even have to just take my word for it.
We have to appreciate, support our law enforcement officials. Those guys sacrificed from their families.
The prosecution is amazing. The law enforcement is amazing. They became our family, and we're keeping most of them for the rest of our life as family. And even you news people, we've made great friends with you guys, and news journalists. We're so grateful, and we thank all of y'all for your support, and we would never be here without y'all. And so many people have reached out to us, and I mean, I have to tell y'all, we even got a message from someone in Tasmania that is following this case. So it's all over the world, and we appreciate all of you, and thank you.
Who doesn't love that? So come on, join on with me. Let's see what we can do. And go ahead and subscribe, because I have more coming. I'm going to keep on deep dives into figuring out all of Melani's lies. I'm going to show what she said and what we know, and we will keep on continuing on this until we get through it all. All right, I'll see you, and I will talk to you soon. See ya.